Mutthead.com, welcome back to Zan's Corner. This week on the show, I am discussing a topic that honestly might be the most pertinent Zan's Corner of all time. If you guys have been playing Madden, watching Madden lately, I'm sure you've noticed that the halfback stretch is probably the most successful run in the community right now. A lot of players are basing their offense around it, myself included. It's a very good run, and rightfully so. I mean, you're going to run what gives you the best opportunity to win ball games. But I'm also going to show you that there is defense for this stretch call. And it doesn't matter what defense you're in. You could be a 3-4 guy. You could be a 4-3 guy. You could be a nickel, dollar, dime. The only defense that this really doesn't apply to is the goal line and the quarter defense. So even further, you could be in cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, match coverage. You could be blitzing. You could call cover 0. You could be in 2-man under. This rule, this adjustment I'm going to show you, shuts down the stretch. Not only does it shut down the stretch, it shuts down the stretch on both the short and wide sides of the field. Now, if you watched Dubby versus Problem in the Ultimate League 2 weeks ago, you guys noticed that Problem kind of made that very popular by showing the world how the stretch to the short side of the field is very, very tough to stop. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to stop that now. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the community meta defense for the stretch. So at first, the stretch was spam to the wide side of the field. So a lot of times players would call cover 2 thinking, okay, well, this corner should come off the edge in his force. But unless they do some specific adjustments, that corner gets blocked on the outside and you're able to just get outside and pick up 5 to 7, sometimes bigger yardage on that run. So what that led to is players baseline and pressing out of cover 2. So they baseline and press. You notice how that corner comes inside, stands inside of that receiver. And some players will even take it a step further and move him inside further. And then they'll move the safety over the top back a few steps to prevent the lob for a touchdown. So now what ends up happening is if we run the stretch to that side of the field, you should see that corner fly off the edge and make the tackle in the backfield like we saw right there. Now the issue is that you can baseline and press all you want, but that doesn't fix the alignment of the corner on the short side of the field. So as much as I want to do this, if I were to just run the stretch to the short side of the field, it's going to put all the pressure on the linebackers to stop this run because the corner on the right side over Torrey Smith is not going to make a play. So we go ahead and run this here. You see how we're able to get outside and run this for about 10 yards, 7 to 10 yards. So what I'm about to show you is a trick that applies to literally any defense in the game. Literally any defense in the game, with the exception of quarter and goal line. So I'm going to call this same halfback stretch. And I'm going to run it against random play on defense. Now, if we get quarter or goal line, I'm just going to skip that play, but I'm going to show you the trick. Now, I'm going to go ahead and check into the cover 2 here. And I just want to call a random formation to start. We're going to go ahead and baseline and press our defense. Now, as I talked about, you don't want to have to spend the entire game moving this safety over and getting quick snapped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a setup that you can do after the baseline and press from any play in the game that will stop the short and the wide side stretch. So once you baseline and press, you get the misalignment. Go ahead and man up your corners on the receivers that they're next to so they realign correctly. Now, they're realigned over the receiver. So you would think the receiver would just block them. But if I were to snap this ball and run this, what ends up happening is that corner comes free off the edge into the backfield and tackles the ball carrier for a loss. This happens on the wide side of the field, as you just saw, and it'll also happen on the short side. So let me call cover 2 out of this defense. I'm going to baseline and press. I'm going to go ahead and man up my corners on the receivers. Now, if I run this stretch to the short side of the field, Kyle Fuller will come into the backfield and blow it up as well. So you're seeing right here, right now, that you can stop the stretch from any play in the game, well, any formation in the game. I've only shown it from cover 2, but this also applies to running this out of pretty much any other play. So you see here, this is like an Okie cover 3 cloud roll. You could do this exact same setup, baseline press, man up your outside corners on the outside receivers. Now, I wouldn't necessarily give my opponents a look like this, but if you wanted to, you could. And if I were to run the ball to the wide side of the field, you're going to see Amukamara is going to come into the backfield and make that same tackle for a loss. So we've shown it to you from cover 2. We've shown it to you from a bizarre zone blitz. Let's go ahead and show it to you here from a cover 3 hard flat. So again, baseline, press. We're going to man up our outside corners on the outside receivers. I'm going to go ahead and run it one more time to the wide side of the field just to show you that it consistently shuts it down. and then we're going to focus on the short side. So here comes the Mukamara again, blows it up in the backfield for a loss. Now we're going to focus primarily on running this to the short side because that's all the community is doing right now. So this is a cover zero blitz, and this is a perfect segue. So you would think if you were to just base a line and press, because the outside corners are already manned up on the outside wide receivers, that it would shut it down. But you would also be wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and run this here. Notice how Kyle Fuller gets blocked. Fortunately, we had another corner out there who was unblocked to make a play. But the one that we were expecting to come in and blow this up did not blow it up. You see here, Kyle Fuller just ends up getting blocked. Actually gets his back turned away from the play. He gets blocked on that play so badly. So now let's go ahead and run this again. This time I'm going to check into the cover zero blitz from this same formation. Base a line, press. So this is basically the same thing that we just called. But let's just, for the sake of what I'm teaching you, go ahead and re-man up those players. Just re-man up. It looks no different, but I promise you the results will be. So if I run this stretch, here comes Kyle Fuller. First guy into the backfield to make that stop. Here's a cover three match. I can do the same thing out of that. Baseline press, re-man up your corners. Here comes another stretch to the short side of the field. Who's the first person in the backfield? Kyle Fuller off the short side. So if you are facing the halfback stretch, it is as simple as manning up your corners on the outside receivers after you have base aligned and pressed. If you do not base align and press, this will not work. Let me go ahead and show you why. If I go ahead and call this play, I'm just going to press here. And then I'm going to go ahead and man up X. I'm going to man up B. Here's the defense. It looks the same, right? But you forgot the base align step. Now if I run this, we get the guy to come in off the wide side, which is fine, but I'm going to show you this exact same thing on the short side. This rule does not apply on the short side. So rather than making this confusing for you guys, we go ahead and press again. If I were to just man up the B receiver on the outside guy, now here I'm going to run this stretch. Kyle Fuller gets blocked. So rather than saying, okay, well, you can press on the wide side and get that result, but you have to baseline and press on the short side, I don't want you to have to worry about that. Just always baseline, always press, then man up your receivers. You'll shut it down, short side, wide side, doesn't matter. Any play in the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, as always, drop them below. I would be more than happy to help you out with this. The stretch is very, very popular right now. Hopefully this will kind of reset that meta a little bit, get players looking for a different defense. Now, if you kind of want my pro tip to add on to the end of this, if you're going to do this tactic, you might as well get corners that are good in man coverage, because if you're wrong and they pass, at least you have man coverage on those receivers. So definitely want to do this with good players that have high agility and high man coverage to play the coverage as well as the run in this play. So until next time, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.